ago, in the heart of Yorubaland, between the vast farmlands and deep forest, there was a village called Ilé Aṣọ. Ilé Aṣọ was known for its rich culture, strong warriors, and beautiful traditions. But beneath its surface lay a story of betrayal, secrets, and a hidden prince named Adewale. Adewale was an orphan. His parents had died when he was just a baby, or so he was told by his uncle Adégbá, who had taken him in. Adewale grew up never knowing the warmth of a mother's embrace or the protective hand of a father. Instead, he lived under the harsh rule of his uncle and cousins, who treated him with contempt. They called him names, mocked him, and made him do the hardest work in the village. Every morning, Adewale would rise before dawn to fetch water, till the fields, and tend to the goats, while his cousins sat under the shade of the baobab tree, laughing at his toil. He had no friends, and the other children in the village avoided him, following the example of his uncle and cousins. Though life was tough, Adewale had a strong spirit. He never complained, even when his body ached from exhaustion or when his stomach rumbled from hunger. Deep inside, he carried a flame of hope, a belief that his life was meant for more than suffering. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, he would stare up at the stars and whisper, "Who am I? Where do I come from?" But there was never an answer, just the rustling of the trees and the distant cry of an owl. Unbeknownst to Adewale, he was not just an orphan boy. He was the only son of King Adeyemi, the former ruler of Ilé Aṣọ. When Adewale's father died mysteriously, his uncle Adégbá, who had always coveted the throne, took over. To secure his position, Adégbá concealed Adewale's royal lineage, raising him as a mere servant. The village elders, either afraid of Adégbá or bribed by him, kept silent about Adewale's true identity. They watched the boy grow up in hardship, knowing full well that he was the rightful heir to the throne. One day, trouble came knocking at the gate of Ilé Aṣọ. The neighboring village, Idofin, had been growing in power and was threatening war. King Adégbá, desperate to protect his rule, called for all the young men in Ilé Aṣọ to prepare for battle. Even Adewale, despite his lowly status, was conscripted to fight. He was given a rusty sword and a small shield, while his cousins, who were trained warriors, laughed at him. "Look at you," one of his cousins sneered. "You can barely lift that sword. You'll be the first to fall when the battle begins." Adewale, though inexperienced, was brave. He had nothing to lose and everything to gain. He knew that if he fought well, perhaps he could finally earn respect. With this hope in his heart, he joined the warriors of Ilé Aṣọ and marched towards Idofin, unaware that this journey would change his life forever. As they approached Idofin, the warriors of Ilé Aṣọ were greeted with hostility. The battle that followed was fierce, and Adewale fought with all his might. Despite his lack of training, he moved with the agility of a seasoned fighter, surprising even himself. But in the chaos of war, Adewale was separated from his comrades and found himself lost in the thick of the forest. As he stumbled through the woods, wounded and weary, he came upon a small village, a settlement on the outskirts of Idofin. The people there took him in, tending to his wounds and offering him food and shelter. Among them was an elderly woman named Olamide, who took a particular interest in Adewale. There was something about him, something in his face, that stirred memories long buried. One evening, as Adewale sat by the fire with Olamide, she asked him, "My son, where do you come from? Who are your parents?" Adewale sighed, his heart heavy with the familiar ache of not knowing. "I don't know, Mama. I was told my parents died when I was a baby. I grew up in Ilé Aṣọ, living under the care of my uncle, who treats me like a servant." Olamide stared at him for a long moment, her eyes wide with recognition. She had been a distant relative of Adewale's mother, the late queen, and had visited Ilé Aṣọ many years ago when Adewale was just a baby. She had heard rumors of King Adeyemi's death and the mysterious disappearance of the prince, but never in her wildest dreams did she expect to meet him there, hidden in plain sight. Thanks for listening this far. If you enjoy the story, please click the like button, leave your comments, click on the share button, and share with your contacts. Also, please subscribe and turn on your post notification for further videos. Thank you. Now, back to the story. My child, she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. You are not just an orphan. You are the son of King Adeyemi, the rightful heir to the throne of Ilé Aṣọ. Adewale's heart pounded in his chest. What? That can't be true. My uncle told me that my parents were simple villagers who died long ago. Iya Olamide shook her head. No, Adewale. Your father was King Adeyemi and your mother was Queen Olufunke. When your father died, your uncle Adégbá seized the throne and hid you away, raising you in hardship so that no one would suspect you were the true prince. Tears welled up in Adewale's eyes as the truth of his lineage settled over him like a heavy cloak. All these years of suffering, all the pain and rejection had been part of a cruel plan to keep him from his rightful place. I knew it, Adewale whispered, his voice trembling. I always felt that there was more to my life, that I was meant for something greater. Iya Olamide smiled through her tears. Yes, my son, and now that you know the truth, it is time for you to reclaim what is yours. With renewed determination, Adewale decided he would not return to Ilé Aṣọ empty-handed. He could not simply walk back to the village and demand the throne. His uncle was powerful and the people were loyal to him. Adewale needed to gather an army, allies who would help him fight for what was rightfully his. He spent the next several months in Idofin, training with their warriors and forming alliances with those who believed in his cause. During this time, Adewale grew close to Princess Morayo, the daughter of the king of Idofin. She was not only beautiful, but wise and courageous, a warrior in her own right. Morayo admired Adewale's strength and resilience, and before long, the two fell deeply in love. Their bond grew stronger as they prepared for the battle ahead, knowing that their futures were intertwined. With the support of Idofin and other neighboring villages, Adewale finally raised an army. It was not large, but it was filled with men and women who believed in justice and in Adewale's right to the throne. The time had come to reclaim his destiny. The battle for Ilé Aṣọ was fierce and bloody. King Adégbá had fortified the village and commanded a strong force, but Adewale fought with the strength of a man who had everything to lose. The people of Ilé Aṣọ, who had long suffered under Adégbá's cruel rule, began to see the truth. They recognized the resemblance between Adewale and his father, the late King Adeyemi. Whispers spread through the village, and soon many of Adégbá's warriors laid down their arms, choosing to support Adewale instead. In the final moments of the battle, Adewale confronted his uncle in the palace courtyard. Adégbá, now an old and desperate man, tried to reason with Adewale, but the young prince stood firm. You stole my life, Adewale said, his voice filled with righteous anger. You took my family, my throne, and my identity, but today I take back what is mine. With one final strike, Adewale disarmed his uncle, who was then captured by the village elders. The people of Ilé Aṣọ, realizing the truth of Adewale's lineage, hailed him as their rightful king. Adewale ascended the throne, not as a boy who had been mistreated, but as a man who had fought for his destiny. He ruled with kindness, wisdom, and justice, never forgetting the hardship that had shaped him. His first act as king was to ensure that no child in Ilé Aṣọ would ever suffer as he had, establishing homes for orphans and ensuring that every member of the village, no matter their status, was treated with respect. As for Princess Morayo, she became his queen, and together they ruled over Ilé Aṣọ and Idofin in peace and prosperity. Their love, born in the midst of struggle, became a symbol of unity and strength for their people. Adewale's journey from orphan to prince, from outcast to king, became a legend in Yorubaland, a tale told by griots around the fire of generations to come. His story was not just one of reclaiming a throne, but the power of truth, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of a man destined for greatness. The moral in this story is that no matter how deeply hidden the truth may be, it will always find a way to reveal itself. Injustice and cruelty may prevail for a time, but true strength lies in resilience, courage, and the determination to fight for what is right. Those who walk with integrity and faith in their destiny will ultimately triumph over deceit and oppression. I hope you love the story, and if you do, please leave your comments in the comment section telling me what story you would like to hear next. Please click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!